Welcome, everybody. I am Hugh Massie, the Executive Chairman and founder of DNA Behavior International, and I'm delighted to be hosting our next Behavioral Economics Today podcast. And in these podcasts, I'm bringing forward people that I've been finding all around the world that are doing great work in the area of behavioral economics, in particularly how the field of behavioral economics is applied to everyday decision making, whether it's organizational decision making, personal decision making, health decision making, financial decision making. That's really where we are, and human behavior is at the intersection of everything. Because humans are involved in every decision. So, welcome today. I've got a special guest, Sander Palm. And Sander is the program manager at the Hague University. He is also doing a PhD at VU Amsterdam. And so he is very passionate about human behavior. He's written a book called Golden Behaviors, and it really explores nudges in the area of health. But I think that the way it breaks it down, these nudges can be deployed if you're a leader making financial decisions, really in any decision making setting. So welcome, Sander.
Thank you for having me, Hugh. Thank you for the introduction.
So what has drawn you to behavioral economics, and why have you made health somewhat a focus of your work?
I've always found human behavior quite interesting, even when I was a child. When I talk to my little brother about our childhood, he always knows what kind of toys he had. I barely remember, but I do remember how my mom behaved at breakfast or what my dad's routine was when he came home from work. So I think it's something innate, and it really developed when I did my master's degree in marketing at the VU Amsterdam, which was mostly commercial influencing. And about 10, 15 years ago, you suddenly had the surge of behavioral economics books that became quite popular. Then Ariely's Predictable Irrational. You had Nudge by Taylor and Sunstein. And of course, Thinking Fast and Slow. And that really pushed me into the realm of behavioral economics.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you were talking then, I was just reflecting on my own childhood, and I think that I was, as a young kid, always fascinated by money, and I think some people took it, and including in my family, took it a little bit that Hugh was just fascinated with money for making a lot of money. But actually, as I've reflected on it and what I was thinking about, it was more, why do people make the decisions that they do? And why do they act out with money in the way in which they do? And why is it such a powerful energy? And I think that, but different to you, I think I was a bit blind to thinking about just how people behave in their day in, day out life, and the habits and routines, and what all of that means. I can look back and on it now with what I know about human behavior and see all of that there. But I think that, yeah, I can see how this is very innate for you.
I think we started off at different points, but we found each other at eventually what is decision-making behavior. And you can start off in several directions. But
Yeah,
in
and
the
I
end,
think
it
we'll
comes down
get
to
to it
that.
later in the podcast, in this conversation about the role of personality, because I know that you're very passionate about that, and you've written other papers and work on that, and that's how I actually found you. But I think that if we sort of start to, Sander, get to the book, that you wrote, Golden Behaviors, which was very much about the 46 nudges for helping people live a healthier life. But just to break it down, why don't you just talk to us about, what a nudge is, so that the audience understands that better?
Yeah, when people ask me what is a nudge, I give them the following definition. I say that a nudge is a slight push in the right direction without rewards or punishment and without taking options away. Um, and nudges can be good, they can be bad, they can be mostly short term, they can be long term, but the focus is right direction, no rewards, no punishments, no options taken off the table.
So, do you want to give an example of what a nudge perhaps is and what maybe is not a nudge, just to
Yeah,
help frame this up a bit?
yeah. So um, the book Golden Behaviors is about behavior that uh, helps you bring health and well-being. That's how me and my co-author Niels Vink from Rotterdam University Erasmus define it. And one of the nudges I described in the book is I think one of the most famous is the default.
Yeah,
So what happens when you don't make a decision? And I was always into sports and into health. I find it interesting, but I also like to drink alcohol. I like the taste of it. I like the feeling even better. And I knew it wasn't good for me. So when I went out, I told myself two, maybe three drinks, but that's it. And my drink at the time was Bacardi Lemon and Coke. And when I downed my first one, I was gone. It went on to two, three, four, five, six, seven. And I did that for 3, 4 nights a week.
yeah,
So I couldn't control myself after I downed my first drink. So I made a switch, a default switch from I drink a couple of nights a week and not too much to I never drink. And never drunk for the last 20 years. And I thought it would be a hard decision. It's a lifestyle, but it wasn't. The hard part was not drinking too much when I went out. It wasn't not drinking at all. It gave me a clear path to follow. I don't drink. Whatever the location, whatever the occasion, I don't drink.
yeah. I think it's an interesting one because I know people who, in a way, have gone cold turkey like you have, and they've stuck to it. I think that for myself, I've gone on the path of, I would say, almost not drinking, but I haven't made it that or defined myself or said I'm a teetotaler um, as such. But even having been already this week at some events, and when the drinking parts come up, I've just left. Um, because I don't want to have it. And I find that I can't just have one drink, and it turns into like one glass of red wine. Oh, why don't I have three or four? But then I know I've learned the consequence of that is not that I'm drunk with that, but it's sort of the consequence is, okay, I'm not going to feel as good tomorrow. I'm not going to perform. Do I really? What's the point, right? So
Is it
that,
worth it? I felt
yeah,
the same.
is it
It
worth it?
just yeah, it just wasn't worth it anymore at some point for me. Uh, it kept my energy low. I found myself a little bit more gloomy after every night of drinking. So no, it wasn't. It was off balance.
So in a way, what you're talking about here, though, is taking away the prompt in some ways to have it, right? You've basically said, I'm not going to have any, so therefore the temptation uh, goes away, or you remove the alcohol out of your house.
I think that's a follow up because
Yeah,
I've made a decision once instead of making a decision every day, every night. So that makes it easier for me. And the follow up, I would say, is that people adjust to it. So people who know me, they don't offer me a beer anymore.
yeah.
They offer me a soda or a glass of water or a cup of tea or whatever. They never offer me any alcohol anymore because they know me. And even if people I've never met before and I meet them for the first time, uh, once I ordered a soda or a glass of water, they ask me if I want a refill instead of something else. So the temptation is quickly out of the window.
Yeah, and I think it has over the last 20 years, from what I can see, become easier to do that and to be out with friends and not have to consume alcohol. Um,
The default it's so simple but so effective. I used it in other parts of my life as well. For example, sports. I used to exercise 4 times a week, and I thought it was hard. Every day I was ruminating. I was thinking, should I go today? Well, I'm a little tired. Didn't sleep well last night. Maybe I should go tomorrow, but tomorrow I'm quite busy. I always had those kind of conversations with myself, really tiring. and I've made the decision to go for a default as well. I work out every day. And the funny thing is, it's much easier for me to work out every day than it was to work out 4 days a week,
Yeah.
which sounds counterintuitive. But I never have a conversation. I don't have to work out for an hour and a half like a pro, could be 20 minutes or whatever. But I don't have the decision to make, do I go to the gym? No, the decision has already been made. The only decision I have to make is do I go in the morning or in the evening hours? That's it.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I followed the same path. It's easier for me to do something every day, and I have a journal that is when I wake up in the morning. I fill it out. I've got my Garmin watch with, and I used to wear a Whoop band as well, and I put all
Good.
the metrics down. Um, and that sort of keeps me honest. I'm going to do some exercise every day, even if because even if it's lighter, like today, I can't do it as intensely because I've had meetings going on, out of the house since 7 o'clock in the morning, and I don't exercise as well at 5 in the morning, but I still did 50 minutes, right? Um, and that's all. I sort of put it like to me in my mind, it's putting credits in the tank because there'll be a day I can't do it, but it's also just part of making myself feel good. But I think I agree with you. If I sort of was going to say I'm going to do it 4 days, it'd be in the week. It'd be easy to miss 3 days in a row, um, and it would monkey with my brain more of when am I going to do it because I
Yeah, but
haven't made it a complete habit. Um,
you only have to make a decision once, and make sure you don't have what they call decision fatigue.
yeah,
Maybe you've noticed that some very successful people dress the same every day. Most famous, I think, is Barack Obama. He wears the same outfit, either a gray or a blue suit. That's it. Steve Jobs, the black turtleneck.
yeah.
Dr. Dre, the hip hop producer. They don't want to um, give any thought to what they are wearing. They want to have all their cognitive ability available to them for whatever they are doing at the moment.
Because probably for them, what they're wearing in a way sends a message. So why don't we just get clear? I want a consistent message. And as you say, I don't have to think about it. I've got a friend, uh, um, that's a business associate friend, but she only wears black dresses. Um, and it's, I don't know whether she's thought about it for the same reason that you've just mentioned it. She doesn't want to think about it. I don't think that so much as it's part of her branding. Um,
Yeah,
for
can
her,
imagine.
but I think the point you're bringing up here, if I'm getting it with the nudges, is with the default is making it easy for yourself and not too hard. And I think that's what I've always said to people with exercise is just start with 5 minutes a day. Change the habit. Go for a walk or walk your dog or do a few push-ups or stretches. Just start with 5 minutes a day and see how you feel, and then you move to the next uh, step. And I think that probably, the tougher one is probably eating. Um, and that's more complex. And I think you use some interesting examples around that of, making it easier to access what is good to eat and a little harder to access what you shouldn't eat, if I've understood that correctly.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Um, maybe the supermodel Kate Moss. She's a British
Yeah.
model. Became to prominence in the 90s, mostly for Calvin Klein. And she's not only famous for her looks, but also for the things she says. One of her most famous quote is, "Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels." And what she's referring to, maybe not consciously, is present bias. So it's hard to say no to something that is very delicious in terms of eating when it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
It is much easier to say no when it's not in front of you, when it's, for example, in the supermarket and you're at home. So what I do is I try to differentiate the timing between when I decide what to eat and when I eat it. So maybe you know the feeling. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're getting a little hungry. You're getting a little tired. It's way too early for dinner, but you want to have something. If that is the moment that I go outside to buy something, I don't buy anything healthy. I buy something delicious. And what I find delicious is, for example, a chocolate bar. So what I do is I make the decision early in the morning when I put something in my bag when I go off to work, piece of fruit or
Yeah.
whatever. And then when 4 o'clock comes, I'm lazy. I don't want to go outside to a shop. I just grab the piece of fruit out of my bag and have a healthy snack. So it's separating the decision from the actual consumption that really helps me continue to eat healthy.
But also, you've done something in there as well, is that you've made it easy for yourself to maintain the healthy habit by ensuring that there's a nice piece of fruit that you like that's in your bag.
Correct.
And the day that you forget to take the fruit, and that you then get hungry because you know your own biology, Sander. You're a healthy man and a sportsman. Um, you probably know what's going to happen, and the only thing that might save you is that you're on phone calls and so busy that you can't go downstairs or out to the shop and go and buy the chocolate bar or the other bit of rubbish um, that might be available.
Correct.
So again, I think the message in here is also it's thinking about this, but also making it easy for yourself, um, so that you can live, in a way you can live easily and not make this uh, a stress to follow the right steps or follow the right prompt, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. If it doesn't matter if it's in health or sustainability or in business, make the behavior that you want, that you think is correct, make that easy, and make the behavior that you think is incorrect, make it as hard as possible. And you mentioned, hey, I start by doing just a couple of minutes a day for my workout, or me getting a piece of fruit in my bag when I go off to work. You also create a habit, and the habit loop, what they call it, is when there's a cue. For example, when I wake up in the morning and have breakfast, I also get a piece of fruit to go along in the bag. So I have the cue,
Yeah.
I have the behavior, I eat my piece of fruit in the afternoon, and the reward. I feel healthy, I feel energized, and can go for another couple of hours at the office.
So why do you think that, people, I think most people know that it's important to be healthy, right? And that the healthier you are, do some exercise, cut out the sugar, keep yourself not being too stressed. We sort of, I think, generally as humans know that those are and cut down alcohol, that there are the important steps. But why do people find it so hard to break the habit?
The answer, in short, is the over reliance of willpower, in my opinion. Because you're absolutely correct. We know that smoking isn't good for us. We know
Yeah,
that drinking alcohol in large substance isn't good for us. We know we have to exercise and eat healthy. There are millions and millions of dollars spent by governments and other organizations to inform us, to give us information. There's an information overload. I can't follow all the new science that comes out on healthy behavior. It's
yeah.
just too much. Um, what what is the trick in my view is to not to rely on willpower. And maybe I don't know, you when you snack, when you have unhealthy, when you eat unhealthy food, when is it during the time of day?
If I'm going to do it, it's generally going to be sometime in the mid afternoon, probably. Um, when I'm feeling a bit tired, it would be like you mentioned before. It'd be easy to go and get some chocolate, uh, or eat a piece of cake or something like that if it's hanging around. Um,
Late in the afternoon or in the evening, that are the moments that you are tired. You have used willpower all day to eat healthy, to get the job done at work, whatever you needed to do that day. So it's like a muscle. Willpower is like a muscle. You can use it, you can make it a little stronger, it looks a little better, but in the end, it gets tired.
Yeah.
So I have the same. If I snack, it's in the evening when I get tired, when my willpower is almost gone. So the over reliance on willpower is what I think people should really kick out the door.
Yeah. So if over reliance on willpower is what people need, as you say, kick out the door, what do they need to do? What's the most important thing perhaps they need to do that? It seems that changing the environment is really important.
Yeah, several of the things we already touched upon, but changing the environment. If I'm at home at night and the willpower is gone, if I don't have the snacks in my house, I'm probably too lazy to get out at 9 in the evening and go to the shop and get them,
Yep.
because I don't have the willpower to eat healthy, but I also don't have the willpower to get up and out of the door. So, yes, make sure to prepare your environment when willpower is low. And everybody knows when their moments of low willpowers are.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that to me, as I've sort of studied and experienced this, certainly in health, um, changing the environment is really important. But how do you see this translating, say, to organizational change? You know, you're a leader and you want to bring in a new initiative. How do you uh, you know apply these same principles that we're talking about for living a healthier life to maybe changing the way in which someone works?
Yeah. So the 46 nudges that we discuss in our book Golden Behaviors are focused on health, but they can be applied to other contexts as well. Sustainability, business, organization, whatever. Because it's about the human mind and how the human mind works. It's not about health. And I work in a big organization, a public organization, worked in big commercial organizations as well. And what I often see is that leaders focus on influencing people. And
Yeah.
influencing people is mostly about the mind. So about the attitude. As a behavioral economist, I don't really care about attitudes. I care about behavior, what you do. We now do X and the organization wants us to do Y. Don't convince me to think differently about X or Y. Make it easy to do Y and make it hard to do X. So the focus on attitude is probably where things go wrong.
Yeah, I think someone would have to be in the organization very deeply passionate about uh, the cause to want to change, uh, but very few people are really going to be that passionate about that cause. So again, I think what you're talking about is that the environment has to change, or the laid out order uh, changes. So when you turn your computer on, a different screen comes up that takes you through a process in a different way, or an opportunity to do something in a particular way isn't there anymore, I suppose, is what we're talking about in terms of the organizational design. Uh, it seems to me it's coming back to the environment that you're
Yeah.
working in that's got to be changed.
And I realize that sometimes attitude change is necessary. And that's okay. Do it, use it, but do it and use it in the correct way. What you often see is that, for example, numbers are thrown into the conversation. I don't understand numbers. Most people don't understand numbers. If I tell you that a piece of M&M, you know, the candy, is containing 5 calories, you know it's more than 4, you know it's less than 6, but is it a lot? I don't know. But if I tell you that one candy, if you want to burn it off, you have to walk 2 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Whoa, one M&M, 2 flights of stairs? That really gets you thinking and change your attitude about what you're consuming. So when you do want to change attitude, don't focus on the numbers. Focus on um, something that your audience can relate to. One more example from the UK. It's about children going less outdoors to play and exercise. And they didn't they didn't communicate the number of minutes or hours that children nowadays are playing outside in contrast to, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. No, they said children in the UK spend less time outside than prison inmates. Okay, now we're talking. I've got the message. So leave out the numbers.
So what you're saying is to help the change is that you're relating it to something that people understand
Correct. Yes.
and that they can get buy into, and that it would be unhealthy in that example for kids not to be spending more time outside. You know, if the prisoners are already doing it. So in part, it's also showing, it's also providing I don't know if you want to call it a case study or a live example of where the particular initiative is already successfully working that people can relate to.
Absolutely. Uh, when something needs to be done, I always look for good examples, and it gives me confidence to see those people and think, are they smarter? Nah, not really. Are they working harder? Nah, not really. So maybe I can do it as well.
But is it also, you know, if we go back to the, you know, like if we go back to the organizational change example, and you want let's say you want a sales team to change their behaviors so that they sell more of a certain type of product, just talking about the financial incentives around the product may not be enough.
It helps. Money talks, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's a bigger issue at hand. People want to be seen. They want to be recognized for their talent, for their hard work. Um, uh, that is what drives their behavior. Sure, money helps, but it's mostly not enough. Otherwise, it would be very simple. Raise the bonuses and everybody would be successful. And that's just not how it works.
Also, for a lot of organizations, they've got to make, if they're going to talk about the numbers, they've got to make it so simple that everybody can understand. The clarity has to be there as well. I think that's part of creating the change, the clarity, you know, of the goal, what's involved, and you know what might motivate you financially has to be there. But it's still in a way an extrinsic motivation, and perhaps not an intrinsic motivation, which you've just referred to, being okay. The top salesperson still wants to be put on stage and recognized as um, the hero, or while he's getting more money in his bank, he also wants the reward trip because that's what feeds him or
Absolutely.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So I suppose what we're saying here, Sander, is make it easy. Change the environment, make it in a way, or present it in a way people don't have to think too much, and just a financial orientation isn't going to necessarily work, you know, by itself. Or or on the other side, perhaps a punishment as well. That's the other thing, is that, well, if you don't do X, you're going to get punished. Is that going to change the game?
Sometimes it will, but does it create a healthy relationship in the long term? I highly doubt it. Is that the kind of people that you want in your organization that just don't want to get fired? I don't think that's enough.
Yeah. So in a way, we need to help people. If we're going to help people change and change a habit, we've got to help them see themselves as successful. Um, we've got, and so sometimes competition is good in the sense that there can be some gamification to see, you know, there's a leaderboard there that can perhaps help change behavior. I know that when I've done a lot of work on the Peloton bike, competing against my friends and getting a better time than them sort of drives me along and wants me to keep getting on it and win occasionally. So I think that is part of it. Um, can be part of it, but also seeing what other successful people do as well. I think
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah. Which
uh,
is what you often see is that there's in organizations is that there is a focus on outcomes, um, which is called an outcome bias. And the problem with the outcome bias is that it doesn't focus anymore about the decision making. So I'll give you a personal example. The other day I bought a lottery ticket here in The Hague where I live. €20 for the lottery tickets because I saw the $1 million jack prize, €1 million, I would say, a jackpot. And I got greedy. So I bought a ticket. And guess what? A week later, I won €250. That's a nice return on investment for
Yep.
a €20 lottery ticket. So I congratulated myself. Well done, Sander. Good decision. When, of course, the expected value of every lottery ticket is less than what you pay for. A house always wins, has cost to pay for rent of a building, people working there, marketing campaigns. So I've made a bad decision with a good outcome.
Yep.
And it was only a day later when I realized I've made a wrong decision with a good outcome. But that kept me from buying more lottery tickets for more money when I focused on the decision making. So I see that in organizations a lot. Sometimes you just get lucky. Your competitor does something stupid or the market changes or whatever. You just get lucky. So focus more on the decision making of your team members. What information did they have? What information didn't they have? Did they have to make a decision then, or could they have waited a little longer? Who was involved? I think the focus on the outcome doesn't help organizations move forward.
As much as maybe focus on the process and the types of people. So that sort of gives me a cue into an area that maybe both you and I are passionate about in this is personality. And I think that one of the issues I've seen with nudging to date has been a little bit one size fits all. And you know, so everything we've talked about today has been good, and you know, I'm on board with changing environments. You know, not making it totally financially incentive driven, appealing to a deeper emotion. You know, these types of things. Uh, Making it easier. But each one of us as people are different, and some of these things are different for each of us based on our personality. Like I know that the more what I call extroverted, outgoing type people will be very concerned about what somebody else is doing. Image is a big driver for them. So whereas the person that's probably opposite to them is very concerned about the details and the clarity of what's inside the fine print of maybe what's involved and the numbers. For someone like me, it's more about the high level goal and frankly, it is making it as easy as possible. Minimum friction, I can get there to the place I need to in the minimum amount of time. Others need their feelings respected more in how this is done. So, what are your feelings about, if you call it a change program that's got to then be broken up by the leaders to recognize the different personalities involved? So it's more custom to them.
Yes, I'm very much in the area of personalization at the moment. My co-author and I wrote the book and published it in 2022.
Yeah.
So when it was finished, I had some time on my hand. And I thought, well, maybe it's interesting to do a PhD. What would be a nice subject? And the relationship between persuasion strategy and personality is what I ended up with. And
Yeah.
that is how you find me, because I published my
That's how
first
I
paper
found you.
last
Yeah.
year
From that article. Yeah.
in the Elsevier journal, Individual Differences in Personality. And what I research is, does a persuasion strategy work differently for you with your personality than it does for me with my personality? Well, the answer is yes. And it has quite significant effects. So, for example, I use the big five
Yeah.
big personality traits, which is the academic standard in terms of personality measurements. And one
For
of the
today, it is right.
sorry,
Today, it's the academic standard. In the
today it is
future, there'll be something else that's the academic standard.
probably. I hope so. Let's move forward.
Right. That's where DNA behavior is. But anyway, I won't
Good,
wave that
good.
flag too hard. But yeah, go on.
So I'm the old school guy with
Yeah.
using
No, that's
big
good.
five.
Yep.
You're paving the future for me,
Yep.
so I can have even better results. But to give you an example, one of the big five traits is conscientiousness. It's being
Yep.
organized, it's being structured, which I am, and that makes me very easy to be influenced by a persuasion strategy like reciprocity. So if you do something for me, Hugh, I feel a huge responsibility to do something for you because I like balance, I like structure,
Yep.
and others have similar effects. So, for example, someone who is high in neuroticism, which is emotionally instability,
Yep.
they are most likely influenced by consistency and commitment because they're a little bit distrustful of other people, for example, authority figures or social proof, what other people do. They trust themselves. So they want to do what they did yesterday, last week, last year. Um, so by personalizing persuasion strategies based on personality, the effects, even if it's just a couple of percentage points, can have a huge effect.
Yeah. So I think, at the end of the day, while the goal might be common for everybody across the different personality styles, I think what we're talking about here is in part, how's the message communicated so that a person hears the message the right way. Like a lot of the people I work with, risk is really important. So, you've got to appeal to that in the right way, the risk reward versus for others, you've got to make them feel safe and using more security type language and show them that it's going to be safe. So I think language is important, but also then you're alluding to the environment that might get created may need to be different as well for different personality styles. I think it's the whole package.
Absolutely. There's more about personalization is more than just personality, but it's a very influential one. And it's a very interesting one, I think, because it brings two interesting worlds together.
And the thing I find interesting now and why I think personalization can come to the fore a lot more, and we can customize nudges, if you want to call it that, and create, different, whether it's different sequences of a transaction or information flow or a workflow and the message for different people. That was hard in the past because of technology not being there, and it being extremely complicated or someone having to remember to do things, and I found that harder just helping our clients use a personality tool, for example, financial advisors with clients. It's been a friction because it's a new step that they're not used to taking. Now with technology, it somewhat can be automatically done for them. And and
Absolutely.
and I think that's the opportunity that, technology and AI brings us now, that if we know who the person is, we can automatically create the environment that's needed to help them.
I think personalization is the future. That's one of the reasons
Yep.
that I chose this subject. I think your company is using the data, the technology, the theory that we have, and combine them to deliver value for your customers. Um, and I think the amount of data, the amount of technology, the amount of theory is only gonna increase
Yeah.
in the near future. So the opportunities will be even bigger. So you have a great future ahead of you, Hugh.
Well, uh, yes, I do, and I think it's very bright, and so do you, Sander. And I think just to wrap up, what are your just to with some closing sort of remark that sometimes people sort of think this is manipulative. So how do we sort of assure people that this is ethical, and that we're going to handle the creation of nudges, the implementation, personalization of them in an ethical way, and what's important for people to understand about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a fan of comic books, but if you've read Spider-Man, you may remember Uncle Ben, and he told Spider-Man, "With great power comes great responsibility."
Yeah,
And I think that now that we are on a path with more theory, more data, more technology, um, it should be very much applied to all of us. And when I think about ethics, I always ask myself three questions. The first one is, who am I trying to influence? Is it grown up adults, or are we talking about children or mentally disabled people? The second thing I think about is, okay, what is the target behavior that I want? Is it to increase, I don't know, sustainable behavior, or is it just to increase my profits?
Yeah.
And the last one is about the level of consciousness. Are people conscious of the influencing? For example, using a default, which we started with, or are they not conscious? For example, priming.
Yeah.
And when I have looked at those three pillars, I can make a decision if I think it's ethical or not.
Yeah, I think it's partly how it comes across to people. It's transparency, I think, is important,
Absolutely.
and providing opt-ins and opt-outs, and showing people why this path has been successful for them, and in a way, the nudging can start small and finish big. And it's bringing people on the journey with that kind of clarity, and I think this comes back to then the values of the people behind the systems that are driving all of this.
Yeah, for me, the difference between nudging and manipulation is about transparency, like you
Yeah,
mentioned, but also correct or incorrect information. If I'm
yeah.
not transparent to you, if I give you incorrect information, that is what I would call manipulation. If it's correct information, if I'm being transparent, then I would call it nudging.
So this has all got to be at the center of golden behaviors to these things. So Sandra, thank you for having this conversation with me. And just to wrap up, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience, or to message where to find more out about you? I think we know now there's the book Golden Behaviors, but embarking on a academic life right for now at least. But is there
Yeah.
anything else you'd like the audience to know?
If you like behavioral economics, if you like personalization, if you like personality, please follow me on LinkedIn. I regularly post about the subjects. Uh, the book Golden Behaviors is for sale at Amazon. And please check out my academic work at places like Google Scholar.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sandra. It's been great spending some time with you today, and we'll look forward to continuing the journey.
Thank you for having me, Hugh, and thank you for inviting me to your great podcast. Good luck
A
with it.
pleasure.